Well, hello, that's me again. Today is January 18th. It is Saturday, and I thought, why don't I do this? Go and spoil your weekend and, just prevent you from relaxing and trying to throw all kinds of funny thoughts from your minds. But you know what, events are really kind of picking up the pace, and I will start with obviously what many people are interested in, and we'll discuss the other things later. And this is of course, and please forgive me, I constantly mess up the name of the president of Iran because it is kind of well, difficult to pronounce, to put it politely, and I don't remember all of the nuances of pronunciation of his, but he definitely arrived to Russia, and as the result, yesterday on the 17th, and judging by the very satisfied faces of Mr. Putin and Mr. whatever, so President of Iran, and all kinds of reports floating around there about this signed agreement, which is their strategic partnership. Uh, what can I say? It took me also the day, that's why I didn't make the video yesterday, to kind of get around reading this whole thing. But before I go, I want to explain why. I was really taken, so it's not devastated, of course, but I never knew him personally. But the death of one of the greatest modern directors, David Lynch, obviously affected me because I am a huge fan of obviously his cinematography, and obviously Twin Peaks, especially the third season, it's a masterpiece. So yeah, it's kind of was really painful to understand that we lost a huge important artist, and some people will go around and say all kinds of funny things, but so what can I say? This is what really prevented me, from doing the video yesterday. But even better, because now many people looked into what Russia and Iran signed, and there are some very interesting developments. In order for you to understand what I'm talking about, I strongly suggest for you guys to get to Larry Johnson's blog, Sonar 21, and his analysis of the what he calls game changer. Russia and Iran signed mutual security agreement, and yes, there are so many interesting things and points which Larry makes, but we have to keep in mind that there was a lot of talk that yeah, we kind of go into the military alliance, then we don't, but reality is, what is happening right now, there will be obviously no visa regime between Iran and Russia. The new pipeline coming through Azerbaijan, no less, will be built between Russia and Iran. And there are all kinds of the projects in cultural, economic and other spheres. But militarily, what Larry correctly points out, this is a very interesting maneuver, so to speak. Although there is no doubt that there is a very explicit statement in this treaty about Russia and Iran cooperating on the security and defense issues, the defense part is kind of put behind or beyond the bracket, so to speak, because it is stated that the respective ministries, which is of course Russian Defense Ministry and Ministry of Defense of Republic of Iran, they will do it in a separate agreement. And that is kind of go figure. And obviously much of those agreements will be secret, to put it classified. And so we can only sit here and speculate, but there is no doubt that Russia, while definitely signifying and stating openly, and Iran stating openly, that two countries still conduct independently all foreign policy, and economic policy and things of this nature. Yeah, these separate agreements between respective defense ministers will mean much. And some people say, obviously, these are rumors, we cannot, confirm or otherwise. But they say that number of Su-35s are already in Iran. People say that, oh yeah, they have been assembled in Iran. I doubt it. I mean, you can do the final assembly, for example. You can theoretically roll two Su-35s in the Antonov 124, Ruslan, but they will have to have their wings clipped, so to speak, and together with empennage sent separate, not separately, separated from them. They will be obviously delivered in the same cargo transport plane. And I doubt you can assemble what is called fine assembly or final assembly of the aircraft in Iran. You have to have a very different type of the environment to do so, and you have to have special tooling, and you have to have specialists. And Russia has been churning out those Su-35s like, just like hotcakes, plus other types of the aircraft, including, of course, Su-57, which is the fifth generation aircraft. And so this is just what is related to Iran. And this is a clear message to the combined West. And then we have to go back to our goats, so to speak. And these goats are obviously, how to put it politely, I don't know. I mean, this fluffy rhetoric all about the preparation of the those negotiations with Russia, which are allegedly in the progress. Already many people, as I already stated many times before in the previous video and video before that, top Russian officials are already coming out and just saying this, straight, that, there's no any kind of preparation. There are some contacts, but that's about it. And as Mr. Ushakov, the chief of staff, which is the head of the administration of President of Russian Federation, stated, we are open to listening to signals. But as some people say, a number of Russian experts, there will be no negotiations about Ukraine whatsoever until Russia and the United States will set on some kind of the larger strategic framework. And these voices are heard increasingly loud in Russia. I am one of the proponents of that basically Ukraine is not America's business to start with. And the question will be a much larger framework of, for example, strategic stability and modus vivendi between these three: China, Russia, and United States. And we already have to wait, 2 days, Monday, Monday, so on the 20th, Mr. Trump will be sworn as the President of the United States in Rotunda on Capitol Hill. I think so it's a good decision not to make this thing in the open air in front of 500,000 or whatever the number will be, people, many of whom could be, who knows what they could be. So yeah, I agree with actually this decision to make sure that safety is at prime in this inauguration, and in the end it's just the ritual, really. Reality is what Mr. Trump will be doing once he is sworn in the office, and he will have obviously hands full, including obviously totally stupid and false information about the conflict in Ukraine, or former Ukraine rather. And obviously Mr. Kellogg, Keith Kellogg, the general, if he still operates with this propaganda data from so-called Ukrainian armed forces, I have news for him. He better fire this guy. He obviously is incompetent, which you would expect from the majority of the American generals, and he just continues to spew Ukrainian propaganda. And it will be very unpleasant for him to be met with absolutely stone-walled faces in Russia when they will refuse to even say anything about their, whatever they call. They want the ceasefire, they want some kind of the BS, temporary, laying off the alleged Ukrainian partnership in NATO and things of this nature. So yeah, we have to keep this in mind. And as a result, we have all kinds of things which continue to circulate. And keep in mind, these are actually, this is, how to put it? Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's really difficult difficult to say it, but even Maria Zakharova, day before yesterday, she was forced to literally about this document, which doesn't exist, allegedly with proposals on Ukraine to Washington, to the Washington establishment. It's just so ridiculous, so that she had to say that Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova responded with the lines from a song by Igor Nikolaev to the question of whether Moscow has prepared a document with proposals to Washington in context of the conflict around Ukraine. And she explains why this is stupid and why they are, well, basically the song, I understand, is about parting of the couple. I do not listen to Igor Nikolaev. And so the first reason is you, and the second is all your dreams. So blame yourself for this BS. Russia prepared nothing. Russians are ready, as Mr. Ushakov stated, to listen to signals. And signals will be, well, Russians will decide what they want to do. And she is she specifically elaborated on this absolute misinformation, which, how to put it, Western media continue to spread because, well, first, I am on record, and I want to stress again, I agree with many people who say that what is called corporate or legacy mainstream media in the West should die. These are vile people. They are, many of them, war criminals, and they are propaganda machines. They disinform public. And just to give you one example of how they do this. For example, Bloomberg sanctions. Okay, this is Bloomberg elaboration on sanctions when they say that Trump team readies to oil sanctions plan for Russia deal, Iran squeeze. And they talk about so-called strategies. There are no strategies. United States and combined West have no foundation for any strategies now. Not that they could do it prior, but so basically what they say that measure being considered with a view to ending Ukraine war. United States has zero influence on the end of this war, except for just withdrawing whatever is left of their advisors and stopping supplying of the weapons and trying to save face. If not, the humiliation is already unfolding. And then they talk about that Iranian and Venezuelan oil export climbed under Biden presidency. So you know what? They have two strategies, quote unquote, which are not really strategy. One is to relieve some sanctions on Russia, others to tighten them even more. The question at this stage is what they gonna do, with what? What kind of sanctions they can impose on Russia, which already has 20,000 of them, I believe, that if you read attentively the whole list, which Russia never was relieved from any sanctions. Russia was constantly under sanctions from the West. Simple as that. Even during the basically treasonous period of Boris Yeltsin and his cabal of the basically pro-Western, pro-liberal, well, intelligence assets who were destroying the nation, quoting Vladimir Putin. And so they have this, new strategies. They're not strategies. They're desperate measures trying to lash out at something. But if Trump goes this way, so that's his problem. Russians don't care really. So, and this issue continues to be, constantly pushed, along the lines by the media. But the reality is that here we have the funny admission. This is, of course, even The Economist. Well, 2 days ago, a French-sponsored Ukrainian army brigade has been badly botched. The scandal reveals serious weakness in Ukraine's military command. And the formation of Ukraine's 155th Army Brigade was announced as the D-Day at the D-Day anniversary ceremony in Normandy last June, complete with photo ops with the French President Emmanuel Macron. Yes, this brigade trained by French, which is oxymoron. I don't know what French can train. I mean, for the, what kind of the force, some basic things like, operating within squad or throwing grenades or things of this nature. But it is very symbolic that French were supporting the Nazi brigade, which operates in favor of the Nazi regime, while during the D-Day. So basically that tells you everything that you have to understand about the intentions of these creeps in Europe, that they are Nazis, they always were, and they never, French, they will support any kind of the genocidal regime as long as it doesn't affect their economic, so to speak, well-being, if you wish. And this is, I'm not saying this lightly, as I already stated, and I am on record. Everybody now in Russia who are not complete shills for which are very narrow strata of Russian nation population, everybody in Russia says that we're done with the West, specifically Europe. Europe is over for Russia, and Russia is not turning to it, period. And so they have to live with the consequences, and consequences are already dire for Europe. They will be even worse. Yet here we are, we have those clowns that continue to pretend that they know what is, they know how to deal with all those issues, and you have, like, for example, Chatham House. These are not only Lilliputian, British military is utterly incompetent, and apart from being indeed Lilliputian, but here you see, here we have these people that Putin may carry out mass casualty attack against NATO, expert warns. Russian President Vladimir Putin is capable of carrying out mass casualty attacks against members of the NATO military alliance, a prominent Russia expert has warned. I have news, and Keir Giles, a leading Russia expert in Chatham House. There are no Russia experts in the United Kingdom, period. There are none, zero, none at least which is anywhere close to the intelligence community, well, or lack of the intelligence community, this terrorist group which is so-called, they pretend that they matter, let alone this Chatham House. This is the Chapiteau circus, basically. And so they invent things, like up to the point that Mr. Tusk, the Polish big honcho, announced that Russians will actually create some kind of the attack against civilian aircraft. They are insane, they have no honor, and they are desperate. This is why you have the complete nut jobbery unfolding in the front of our eyes. And this is very clear why, obviously, if you, for example, look at their casualties numbers today, there you go. So we have what? The only thing that they really have left, the Ukraine is throwing as many drones as they can possibly have. Most of them are like 95, 97% are shut down. But as you can see yourself, we are way into 1 million of the killed there, with the 1,027,405 for today, and it's just basically another 1,740 of today. And believe me, again, as I already stated, this is what Russians can only count and can only verify with the means of objective control. Yet here we are. We have this situation now unfolding in the Kupiansk area. You see at the northern flank, you see this Kruglikovka. This is Kruglikovka. This is the map from our good friend Marat Khairulin, which is showing how already one of the flank of the defenses of whatever is left of the armed forces of Ukraine is completely, denied the access to the one remaining bridge over Skol River, and yeah, it's essentially semi-cauldron now, and yeah, those people will be annihilated. So, and this is just yet another, butcher's bill for all those, specialists and American and British generals who planned all this catastrophe. And Douglas MacGregor correctly stated yesterday, I believe he said it, that the war is already basically won. It's just the matter, as we constantly state, how much more meat armed forces of Ukraine and their curators from Washington want to throw into the meat grinder, and Russians will obviously oblige. But if that hasn't been enough, we have now these clowns. Yeah, that's Telegraph. It's British tabloid, so anything British say is basically garbage. But look at this. They need to sell stories, and so they pretend that something important is happening. So you have the two loser countries who didn't win anything in the long time. At least British won Falkland crisis, Falkland War. But I mean, here we have these guys. So UK and France in talks over sending peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. And so they talk about the deployment of Western soldiers could help underpin a post-war settlement between Kiev and Moscow. They do not understand. There will be no settlement between Kiev and Moscow. The only settlement which there will be between Moscow and Washington. Period. But these cretins, all those when, well, it's tabloids, okay? What else can I say about it? So, and here we have this Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron are discussing sending British and French soldiers to Ukraine as a peacekeeping force after any potential deal to end the war. The Telegraph understands. Telegraph understands nothing because it's a bunch of the British morons there who have no clue what they're writing about. The same goes for French. The only thing they can do is this legerdemain to cover up how pathetic they are, how impotent their militaries are, and that basically they are chihuahuas in the larger scheme of things. And as already was stated by Zakharova, it was stated by Lavrov, and by everybody who is anybody in Russian politics, these guys, French and British, are not going to be present on any kind of discussions between Russia and Washington. And so the same goes for, especially so for Germany. And so, yeah, those, butthurt losers, they pretend that, they still matter. Yeah, if any potential deal. Obviously, none of them can develop and basically shake down the formation of any kind of value, combat value, and even peacekeeping value, because they don't have resources. They really don't. If you look attentively how Russians handed French their butt on the plate in Sahel, in Africa. That is why Macron is butt-hurting so badly, and he wants to somehow, make painful things to Russians, despite the fact that being a prostitute that France is politically. So they try also simultaneously to have their separate negotiations with Russia behind the scene, and Lavrov, simply knowing that it's usually out of the diplomatic practice, he deliberately disclosed this. And he said, no. Russia said, no, we're not talking to you, you're nobodies. And that's what is happening in Europe. And Europe has to really get used to actually to its new status as object of the foreign policy. And whatever those invocations by all those corrupt and imbeciles, frankly, political leaders, and from European Commission, the bunch of the creeps altogether, that we need to become, independent. No, you will not become independent. And because you will not become independent because the only thing they depend on is energy, which is not in Europe. And if anybody still doesn't understand what real economy and what real progress is, it is all about energy. It is all about those, oils, all those gases, and all those nuclears, which Europe joyfully, especially Germany, killed. So they have now to, face the reality that something is not right with us. Too late. And I mean it. I do not believe that there will be any kind of recovery. Europe will be removed, so to speak, as a second-tier power or conglomerate. Eventually, it will be broken up as the European Union, and it will remain as the bunch of the smaller caliphates, if you wish, in France, for example, who will be fighting each other for them, whatever the resources are, remaining, or whatever United States and Russia will allow them to have. Period. And so if those people do not understand what is coming, well, it's too bad. They evidently still pretend that they matter militarily. They don't. And so when you begin to really look at this, and you also see for yourself the latest data on it's a masterpiece of the operational art. I obviously being facetious, I absolutely being sardonic and sarcastic. Yes, 2 days ago, Russian defense minister named the number of losses of the armed forces of Ukraine for the entire time of the invasion of the Kursk region. This is the beauty of the Pentagon and London's military planning. Since the start of the hostilities in the Kursk direction, the enemy has suffered losses exceeding 52,330 servicemen, reported by the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. 305 tanks, 231 infantry fighting vehicles, and 170 armored personnel carriers were also destroyed. In addition, the enemy lost 1,567 armored combat vehicles, 1,486 vehicles, 367 artillery pieces, and 44 multiple launch rocket launchers, including 13 HIMARS and 6 American MLRS, multi-launch rocket systems. This is essentially a euphemism. This is the statement of the real state of the affairs in the combined West, and militarily it was demonstrated and, paraded as the paper tiger. The Russians, as I already stated it all the time, that yeah, Russians do sustain casualties, no doubt about it, but they are, okay, order of magnitude less than that of the armed forces of Ukraine. So if Mr. Keith Kellogg, who, again, as I already stated, there are questions about his understanding of what is going on a professional level, if he still thinks that, as what was told to him by Kiev, that Russians lost 600,000 killed while Ukraine lost 400,000, he has to really get back to maybe the first year of the West Point. I don't remember if he even graduated West Point. I don't think so. So he was probably a ROTC guy, and start learning basic mathematics. I know they teach higher mathematics in West Point. I really do. They teach all kinds of required things from the calculus, up to the calculus 3 and things of this nature. So the basic counting, basic understanding of statistics is critical here. Evidently, he doesn't understand. As I already stated, what many people begin to constantly ignore, but it has to be brought to light constantly. U.S. military, bar some those people such as Doug McGregor or people of his level and who had the ability to plan, understand how the operation planning goes, how the war proceeds. The most of them, they really bought into this garbage. They really believe it. They really believe that, yeah, Russians are just throwing bodies and heroic Ukrainians and, yeah. If you think that these people are professionals, I have a bridge to sell you. They are exposed as pathetic semi-paramilitary amateurs who do not understand or do not have enough courage to come to this, political elite, to which, upon which they, of course, their careers and ranks and all that, and financial perks are dependent, and say to them, guys, you committed war crime, you killed. You destroyed at least four different iterations of the armed forces of Ukraine, and now we have to expect 18-year-olds. They will come, and I'm not sure that Trump can do anything about it. In the end, the cabal, which actually was supporting this crime against humanity, essentially, they are still in the State Department, they are still in Pentagon, they are still in CIA, they are still everywhere. And those people, they are utterly incompetent. They don't have honor. They don't have integrity other than being the, bureaucratic worms and who have their own biases. And people in the end, neocons, which brought up the hatred of Russia to the United States based on their century-old, even more than century-old grievances, they still run the show. And until Trump understands this, I don't know. And you can understand that there are here and there all kinds of the common sense statements, but until they become the policy, and until the United States and its new president understand the real state and a real position of the United States in the global order of things, no number of the invocations, and superlatives by Trump about he had great discussion with this guy. Oh, I know Putin. He doesn't. He has no clue who Putin is. Oh, I know this. Oh, what a wonderful discussion we had. They are not wonderful. Pardon me. So this is what I wanted to tell you actually today, and what can I say? This is my sort of way of spoiling your weekend, if you wish. And the only thing we can have hoping for is that obviously Trump will make some sensible decisions which will work in favor of the United States and American people, not all those frankly, ridiculous geopolitical ambitions, but who am I? Anyhow, this is what I wanted to tell you guys, and as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And I'll talk to you later, guys. Have a nice rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.